Thanks.
Welcome to today's ILTA Roundtable, Balancing the Billable Hour in AI Technologies. How does AI implementation affect the current billing model? I'm Andrea Schofield from ILTA staff. Before we begin, a few quick housekeeping notes. If you are dialed in by phone, you can use *6 to unmute yourself. You can use the chat box at the bottom of your screen to type questions for the panelists. This session is being recorded and will be available shortly after it concludes. Remember, this is a conversation, not a presentation. Your insights are both valued and appreciated. Near to the end of the session, please take a moment to complete the evaluation poll that will pop up on your screen. I will now hand it off to the moderator to begin. Damian?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. Welcome to today's roundtable titled Balancing the Billable Hour and AI Technologies. How does AI implementation affect the current billing model? So I'm really excited to moderate today's roundtable, and our speakers today are Greg Lambert, Balanand, Menon, and Jonathan Selvadoray. And would each of you mind introducing yourselves and what you do for work?
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Greg Lambert. I'm the Chief Knowledge Services Officer at Jackson Walker, a 550 attorney firm. We're Texas only, and I am over research, knowledge services, KM, and conflicts. And I also blog and podcast on the Geek and Review and Three Geeks and a law blog.
Awesome, thank you. And Jonathan?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jonathan Selvadoray. I'm the founder and CEO of Zaven. Zaven, it's a marketplace that enables corporates to buy legal services faster, smarter, and cheaper. Prior to that, I've spent about 12 years as in-house counsel at Temasek, the investment fund, the global investment fund. And prior to that, I was in private practice, lastly, for 10 years, managing partner of CMS Cameron McKenna in Shanghai, China. I operate mainly out of London, but also other cities worldwide.
Thank you, Jonathan. And Balanand?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Bala. I head the consulting division for this organization called Vahura in India. We are pioneers of legal recruitment and consulting here. So 50% of my time goes in advising law firms in terms of their operation strategy and innovation. And 50% I spend time with multinational corporations in setting up of their global legal capability centers in India, where we provide a build, operate, transfer model of their extended legal teams in India.
Thank you so much. And lastly, my name is Damian Priamurskiy. I'm a project management and delivery specialist in our investment management group at Lowenstein Sandler. My background is in legal project management and in mediation and conflict resolution. Okay. And to kick off, so this is AI, right, as it enters the landscape of legal is such a hot topic, right? And I think it would be helpful for people to understand just generally how AI is changing our legal work gets done in the sector, and but many legal professionals still have questions about how it fits within this traditional billing practices landscape. So the question is, what do you think is the biggest challenge or misunderstanding when it comes to combining AI tools with a billable hour model that's prevalent in our sector? And Greg, would you like to kick this off?
Sure. I think, there's some obvious things that we look at, because when you talk about efficiency in this type of market, the first thing that comes up is, well, how can you charge by the billable hour and look at efficiency and not have that efficiency cut into the billable time? So I think a lot of concerns right now are, the ethical concerns around reasonableness of fees, I think clients have an expectation that AI will cut into the billable hour. I think there's going to be some competitive pressure out there that is going to put pressure on law firms to find ways of implementing these tools in a way that brings in efficiencies. And then, of course, then you get into that paradox again. Of course, billing transparency is going to be a huge thing. And then we're going to start talking about this value-based billing, which is kind of, it's not new, but it's something that I think this industry has struggled with for quite a while.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think we're going to touch base on that and, talk a little bit more about this topic, especially the different billing models later on in the conversation. Jonathan, do you have any comments on this question?
Yeah, I just can add on what Greg is saying, perhaps in a slightly different way, where first AI and billable hour are not mutually exclusive. They're kind of two different animals. Let's not fool ourselves. Not all work will be done by AI in the legal industry. I think if you read reports, it varies. Some reports say by 2029, private practice lawyers will spend 10 hours less on work thanks to AI. Other reports you can read say that 60 to 70% of legal work will go through AI. Let's see what comes out of this. But I think it's fair to say that not everything will be done by AI, and the death of the legal industry in one way or another. I think AI, of course, provides faster and I insist higher quality in many instances than what human beings are doing. But still, it's not a zero-sum game on this. And perhaps I'll add one more factor here is that law firms have not been, working from scratch on every single piece of work. Take contracts, for instance. Every law firm has built vast databases, templates, and they sometimes don't even price it. What AI can do in a few seconds, law firms would, for some of them, a growing number of them, not even charge for the first draft of a contract. They will charge for negotiating, amending, etc. But that shouldn't be forgotten. That this blank page syndrome, which is not prevalent at law firms. That's more on the misunderstanding. On the challenge, since you say what's the challenge, I think software costs, tech costs at law firms have been spiraling over the last years, 10% per year. Someone has to pay for this, and I don't see anyone else than clients. Clients will eventually have to pay for this. And I think the big question, the challenge, as you mentioned it, Damian, in your question is how are law firms going to factor this in? Will it be in an increased billable hour? We've seen, billable hours go up for the last probably as long as I've been in the industry, more than 25 years. Every year goes a little bit up. Is this sustainable? Can you just bump again the fees to factor in the cost of AI or other technology? Have we reached a plateau here, or do you want to go into alternative fees, flat fee, fixed fee, etc., or charge for AI costs at law firms as an expense, etc.? I think the jury is out. Law firms are experimenting different models. Clients are also experimenting different ways, talking to their outside counsel. That's all. I think that will be one of the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, just to tack onto that, and it's a little outside the scope of this, so I'll be quick. One of the things I think law firms and clients need to start thinking about is who's really going to benefit financially from the AI boom. Is it going to be the law firms? Is it going to be the clients? Or more likely, is it going to be the vendors, the sellers of the AI tools are going to, so the client, the law firms are going to end up spending more, probably the clients are going to end up spending more, and the beneficiaries are going to be the people that supply the AI. And so, it's just something to think about as you go into the strategy to determine what's the best benefit for everyone involved.
Thank you. Thank you both. And Bala, do you have any comments on this?
I think Greg and Jonathan have kind of added most, but one of the big challenge, at least I see from the Indian market, is this hope that AI is suddenly going to come in and transform the practice altogether. Adoption is going to be a key challenge. Not looking at standardization of your process and how tech can actually enable that. Without that mindset, it's always going to be a bottleneck. So from an Indian market perspective, we are at the early stage of how AI can actually transform the practice, but there's high level of intent. And whenever there's high level of intent, it's a good thing for the market altogether.
So thank you. And so let's delve deeper into, the subject and talk a little bit about adapting billing models to AI, and something that each of you mentioned a little bit when we, were setting the stage for this conversation. So many law firms already use alternative fee arrangements in one way or another, maybe hybrid billing models, flat fees for specific types of matters, arrangements. How do you see AI changing or enhancing these existing arrangements, these existing use cases, and what new opportunities might it create for pricing legal services? One of you mentioned value-based billing, right? And I do want to note, and I think we'll touch upon that as well, that the US is kind of a unique market a little bit, right? When we're talking about legal services globally, where most jurisdictions out there outside the US are more frequent users of AFAs and non-hourly billing models. So I just wanted to put it out there.
It is, from my standpoint, being in Europe, located in Europe, it's striking to see how alternative fee arrangements have become quite prevalent in Europe, in Asia Pacific, in other regions of the world. But it seems the billing hour has been extremely resilient in the US. Is this going to change? I'm not sure. I'll give you one example where if you turn things around. I'm an in-house counsel. I'm asking, Greg's firm to send me a fee proposal for a piece of work on an hourly rate basis, knowing that 80% will be done by AI. I may be willing as in-house to stick to the billing model because that's more economic than having a fixed fee. It might take Greg's colleagues perhaps an hour or two versus a fixed fee. So there are cases where I believe in the future, in-house counsel would be best sticking to the hourly rate than going into an alternative fee arrangement. Now, having said that, I think where I see AI kind of accelerating the move to alternative fee arrangement is just the hourly rates going up and up and up and up. We've seen increases by 10% a year almost. It's becoming to the point where I have discussions with really senior partners of global law firms telling me I just struggle to tell my clients that I'm billing $2,000 an hour for a piece of work. It becomes a little bit insane. I always said it's potentially a marketing issue for law firms. They could charge $2,000, but just don't say it that way. Put it in an alternative fee arrangement with a fixed fee, which in turn, I think, creates pressure for in-house. I've been an in-house lawyer, GC for Temasek for many years, and I think you need courage, you need experience and some level of knowledge before you can go with a fixed fee, a flat fee for a piece of work. Many in-house don't have this expertise, and they are just happy to rely on an hourly rate and a spreadsheet showing a timesheet. At least there's some basis versus what they believe is often a finger in the air, saying, yeah, this piece of work is worth this or that, I'm not sure. And don't forget, they need to sell it to their business colleagues. At the end of the day, the legal department, more often than not, relies on the budget of the business. So you also have those kinds of, I would say, dynamics playing, which might still lead many in-house not to push for alternative fee arrangement, but stick to the billing hours. But I think we've been saying this for 25 years. The hourly rates can't go up, continue to go up, and it's been 25 years or more. Every year it's gone up, and it's gone up more than ever over the last 2-3 years. Is this the end? And is AI going to help change this or moderate the increase? I'm not sure, but I think that fixed fee and flat fee are, in my view, the way forward still. How long it will take, for what kind of matters, in which jurisdictions is a different question.
Definitely, it's a big difference depending on the geography we're talking about, and it will take some time to adapt. And Bala, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, so just to add to Jonathan's point of view, so one trend that we have seen from the Indian market perspective is the LPO revolution that we saw during the financial crisis, right? And there, what we saw was there was this unbundling of activities and taking those activities which are high in volume and to put maybe do it in a US or a UK market, it tends to become more expensive, and those kind of work was sent to India to kind of do. So you had your e-discovery, contract abstraction, IP management, these kind of activities. Just taking the leaf from those learnings, and now in 2025, what we see could be possibly moving away from this one big hourly billing bucket. So let's take M&A transaction as an example. What we are possibly seeing in the Indian market is there's an unbundling of those activities. So you have the due diligence side of things, which is going through the volumes of document, categorizing them, and making sense of what's happening there. That kind of being taken a lot through AI, which AI can do much better than maybe, let's say, a 0 to 4 year associate within a law firm, or it can actually speed up those activities a lot better. But when it comes to strategic advisory or negotiation, or documentation of your final documents and so on, that's where the hourly billing or the premium pricing can be brought in. So the DD part being more standardized billing or fixed fee element, because it's becoming more predictable. The cost is much more controlled for a firm. And when it comes to the other side, you're able to add that premium and so on, and it kind of helps you to scale. The second aspect that we've seen very with some of the firms in the Indian market is they're using technology to maybe go to those areas which they have been a little away or stayed away from. Like, for instance, I've been interacting with this IP firm, and enforcement is one space that they didn't want to enter because it's very high resource intensive. Now what we are seeing is the firms are kind of creating these AI tools for their clients. Though from a pricing element, they are not able to go into that premium level pricing. It's a very fixed level and at a lower aspect. But it's strengthening the relationship and it's creating a great hook for the client perspective. So on the core services, they are able to charge a premium by providing these services maybe at a lower cost mechanism. So the stickiness increases, the dependency increases, and firms in this market where it's hyper competitive, these kind of stickiness elements are going to help firms innovate a lot on their pricing models.
Thank you, Paul. It sounds like, finding the right use case, right, and the billing strategy for AI when it comes to legal work is the kind of cornerstone of how AI implementation affects our current billing models and legal work in general. And yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. And Greg, do you have any comments?
Yeah, the one thing that I would remember is to see what the incentives are for both the law firm and the client. The client themselves may not be incentivized to go to a flat fee. They may be showing their value to the powers that be at their organization by percentages of discounts or write-offs or there's other things that they may show the value on that they can show in an hourly situation, and they can't show necessarily in a fixed fee situation.
Absolutely. So let's delve deeper, and we kind of talked a little bit about this already in our previous question. How does legal work gets allocated, right, or shifted with the introduction of AI, right? As we see AI adoption grow, is legal work actually shifting or moving one way or another, such as from law firms to in-house teams? And what factors are driving these changes? How can law firms better position themselves to adapt to this new landscape? And I think Bala, you talked a little bit about the different types of work and the location of work that happens with AI tools involved. So I think, would you mind starting, talking a little bit more about that?
Again, the perspective that I will be coming is from a lot from the Indian market, and it will be interesting to see how it resonates with the rest. So when you look at the in-house legal teams in India, it's gone through a revolution. So during 90s, it was more of a compliance-based functions, but cut to 2025, they're more sophisticated operations, and they are looking to kind of rival the law firms in their capabilities, primarily because of two reasons that we see. One, there is a mounting pressure to enable the business to become much more faster, much more agile, so that they can go to the market faster. And the second is GCs and legal teams are becoming tech savvy. So just to kind of share a real life example, a GC that we've been working very closely, a GC of a large tech company, has kind of implemented a AI contract analytic tool. So they can kind of go through an entire contract database, and it's just not about faster contract review, but they are also able to leverage their data to standardize positions, understand risk patterns, and even kind of, look into the prediction of potential issues that can come from, so on. So your clients are becoming much more educated on how AI can be leveraged. So that expectation in terms of their service provider is definitely going to happen. And that's where also we feel like, while in-house teams are certainly looking at bridging their routine work with AI support, they're actually deepening their collaboration with law firms on complex matters. So it's not a simple external to internal shift that we are seeing. We are seeing a strategic redistribution of work based on value and complexity. And forward-looking law firms are definitely able to seize this opportunity, and they are able to position themselves, like I mentioned before, as strategic partners than just that service provider for that legal department. Another example that, just to bring this out, is we were working with this large pharmaceutical company where they had around 800 B2B high stake litigation cases. And they wanted to create a comprehensive case summary and identify patterns which can be like bright spots and just, potential risk and so on. So instead of handling this internally or bringing a new vendor, our client wanted to collaborate with their existing law firms to create this service offering. Now, the law firm has two choices, which is to take a short-term view of it and stick to their traditional litigation service, saying, no, this is not an area that we want to enter. And that kind of possibly opening the door for maybe like an ALSP or a new vendor, or even a tech vendor for that matter. Or they can take like a mid to long term view and expand their service offering. So the firms that are winning in this landscape, they're choosing the second path, which is becoming a strategic advisor to the client, and who can handle both traditional legal work and also at the same time the data driven insights. And this kind of makes them indispensable to the GC and also to the business. So yeah, so that's the way that I kind of look at it. It's not just about in-house or external element. Law firms are going to get more strategic, like I think the point that Jonathan and Greg was mentioning about. And it's about, taking that long-term view about reinventing your legal service model itself.
Absolutely. So there's the shift in this entire relationship structure, right?
That's right.
As it changes between how law firms serve their clients. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And Jonathan and Greg, any comments?
Uh, Perhaps just an add-on, Bala commented extensively, but I think AI, AI needs data. AI needs good data. AI and confidentiality is a big issue here. And most corporates will not want to share all their data with the outside counsel. And you just wonder where this game will end up if there's no real partnership where corporates can build their own system with their own data, which is far superior and exhaustive than what a law firm would ever have for one single client. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got law firms with multiple clients with extremely useful data that can be used to head corporates. How do you bridge both? How do you make sure that you get the best of both worlds with preserving, confidentiality? I think that would be expected from the law firm vis-a-vis its numerous clients, but also for the corporate vis-a-vis the law firm. So I've seen many projects there ongoing. I think we are at the start of something, but that could be super powerful. The worst that could happen is everyone retreating in its own kind of fortress and building something on their own. I think there would be a lot of time, energy, and money lost there. How you make it happen? I'm always curious to see, or, existing projects, ongoing projects on how is this done.
Yeah. And I think the thing that we're hearing a lot about, because it's a juicy story for bloggers like me and for the legal tech press, is the stories of, well, and a startup or an in-house person used ChatGPT to create a contract and did so in just a few minutes, and that would have cost them $6,000 in a month for an outside counsel to do. I think that's great for the press and kind of stirs the pot a little bit. But I think the reality of it is that what the in-house counsel is going to be able to do, or even a startup that's not necessarily someone that has a legal background, is it's going to give them a better language to talk to their outside counsel on exactly what their business and legal needs are. So I think it's going to be a more intelligent client that comes to the law firm, and that is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And so I think then if you've got a client that's coming to you that at least has an outline of what the issues are and can understand that the language, the legalness, and then we can then turn around and talk in a language that the business side of that person, that client has. That's going to be an excellent communication that we really don't have a lot of right now. So I think there's going to be a lot more benefits than there are going to be detriments in this relationship. And I for one, encourage the attorneys to tell their clients to go out and and do their first pass using AI if they're comfortable with it, so that they can come to you with better information.
That's such an interesting and wonderful take on it, Greg. I've never actually thought of it, how like AI specifically can help enhance these communication pathways between clients and law firms. That's a really wonderful insight. Thank you. And moving on, our next question is how we build, how trust and value exist in this realm beyond time saving. So AI tools, as we know, can save time, right? They can help a lot with administrative tasks, with some other legal work, but clients often value more than just speed when they hire law firms, right? They're paying for trust, they're paying for law firm expertise, our firm's reputation. How can firms balance these client priorities with the practical benefits of using AI tools? And the benefits that these AI tools bring when the law firms explain their pricing. And Jonathan, I think we talked about you.
Yeah, I
having some
think
great insights about this.
on this question, we've gone full circle. I think, you think AI immediately, savings, price savings, cheaper fees, but at the end of the day, and I've seen this on Zaven on the platform, and during my experience working both sides, in-house and in private practice, pricing is just one element. It's often what I call a convenient truth. When people partners tell their other partners, yeah, I lost because of pricing, but actually in most cases it's not pricing. In-house are also often too shy, or find it too difficult of a conversation to have a real post-mortem or give feedback and tell a law firm, well, you lost your pitch because of this or that, because of the chemistry, because we felt that partner didn't speak the same language, or during the meeting that partner was just texting I don't know who, another client, or we didn't feel the right level of commitment. All those seemingly not fundamental matters most. Chemistry becomes so important. Corporates are happy to pay a little bit more, provided there's ease of working with a certain partner and his team. The chemistry is super important. We can go and talk forever about soft skill being the new hard skills. That's super important. And if I was a managing partner of a law firm, I would spend so much time on that. And then again, it's kind of a virtuous circle where people are saying, with AI, partners will have more time to spend with their clients, to understand their clients, and be able to tailor their advice better, provide higher quality advice. So all in all, AI is just one building block. We shouldn't underestimate, probably, but not neither overestimate all what I've been saying here. Often is more important when it comes to selecting a law firm.
So, any other insights?
Yeah.
Just to add to Jonathan's point, I think it's becoming very important for law firms to understand the value proposition for which the client is coming to you. In my experience, value prop can be broken down into either they're coming to you because you're faster, better, cheaper than the competition. So they want you to keep that value prop at mind and developing innovative tools. Their speed matters, but speed at a particular price point matters. And the more efficient you can get, the better it is. When the value prop is for the client is coming to you for either you have experience or you have that expertise. Again, the balancing element becomes critical, where you can use AI and what kind of savings that you can use for the client, but at the same time the letterhead matters. So the client is coming you for that risk coverage, they're coming you for your reputation, your experience, and so on. So over there the balancing element is important, but at the same time that also gives you a very good way of pricing it. One of the firms that is thinking about that we are working with is thinking about, is there a way that I can help the client benchmark their position that they're taking to some of the most common position that we see in the market. So that's kind of showing the experience that they have, not just from I think element, but it's more from a probability angle, which AI is well positioned for. So it's not about an associate or a senior associate's personal position that they're taking at that point, but they're able to compare it to the market, and that's great expertise to show to the client, and give them that assurance of the position that they need to be taking.
Yeah.
So
And I think, and we can probably all think of this on a personal level. We've all either ourselves or have people we know that have needed legal services for divorces, for some type of, they're being sued, real estate issues. Very rarely do these people go and find the cheapest lawyer that they can find. They look for someone that's experienced in that area, and they're willing to pay more for that experience. I think what the new situation, and this is I mean, we're applying AI to something that every time there's an innovation that comes along, whether it's knowledge management, cloud services, whatnot, is you look to how are you adding a value on top of just your skill set, your experience? Is there something more that the new innovation is bringing as a service to me? And I think that's something that the attorneys who are both the provider of the services and essentially the seller of the services need to be able to explain to their clients is that yes, now not only will you get your my best knowledge and experience and abilities to this, but also we're bringing this additional value through the technology, through the innovation that is an add-on value to what you typically get. So again, it's all about relationships, and this is one of those things where I think you can build upon this relationship by being upfront and honest and forward thinking on what, in addition to your typical services, can you bring to that relationship.
thank you, Greg. And it sounds like, yeah, AI is definitely becoming this valuable add-on, as you said, right? In explaining your expertise and explaining what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, Damian, perhaps a quick one on, your question still stresses speed, and I don't want to completely undermine speed. Speed proactiveness is, when you look at all feedbacks on quality of services, is one of the top 2 or 3. We shouldn't still forget it. But what I like about AI is it kind of democratizes a little bit, the ability for perhaps firms with fewer associates who are able to do the groundwork to compete head to head with bigger firms who have more firepower to put 5, 10, or even more senior associates on a piece of work. I like to think about AI as AI as providing kind of an army of associates to partners who can do the groundwork, and then for the partners to just review that. It's still a lot of work, but that's something which I think will be as a kind of a level playing field for many law firms.
Yeah. Just to tack on to that, Jonathan, I think law firms need to be wary of the partner trap when it comes to AI, because the clients are already telling them they don't want to pay for associates. They want the brain of the partner involved, and I am a little concerned that they may see that as I don't need associates at all, and I think there's a long-term issue with that. Again, probably outside the scope of this one, but I think you need to be very, very careful not to fall into what I would think would be a trap in that I can do it all. And that's really not where the best value of a partner's time is doing all the grunt work in a legal matter.
Absolutely, that's a very important point. Now that we've talked about, trust and value, how law firm client relationships work, and explaining their pricing to clients, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a different side of the AI and law firm billing equation, is leveraging AI for knowledge management and matter analytics. So We see a lot of posts about on LinkedIn and other platforms about data is king in law firms. So we see that AI is starting to reshape how law firms approach billing data and matter analytics specifically. How can these tools enhance knowledge and billing systems to help our firms uncover insights that improve billing strategies or streamline case management? And Greg, why don't you start this one?
Sure. So I think, and I want to, because I know we have quite an international group here. So I want to say up front that when I look at knowledge management, I tend to be a very American in that and look at it more as a technology rather than a human-centric approach, which I know my European and Asian friends are kind of the other way around on that. So with that prefaced, I think what we're looking at least right now, is using the technology to enhance the workflow, and in doing that, I think. And in fact, you're seeing a lot of the resources that are selling AI technologies. Bloomberg, probably one of the biggest ones that says it right up front, is the way that they're adopting the technology is through improving the workflow of the legal matter, and that goes in a couple of ways. One is that will tend to be in uh, one program rather than multiple programs. So a lot of these things are going to be tied into Microsoft Word, Outlook, and those sorts of things, Excel, all of the things that where you're doing the grunt work. But you'll, instead of having to jump out and back in and back and forth, you'll be able to actually implement the tools, right from one tool. So I see that as being one of the things. And then I think a lot of, I think there's a hope that we'll be able to do a lot more predictive analytics on the information. But again, this is a 25-year-old overnight problem. When generative AI hit the buzz, immediately, one of the things that law firms did, which they did when it came to cloud computing, when it came to KM, when it came to web, is they said, you know what? Our data is really messy. We don't organize our information very well, and we don't capture our information very well. A lot of the useful information that we need to capture is still stuck between the ears of the partner that runs the matter. And so I think there's some hope that AI will help with the cleanup, will help with the organization going forward. I do have to say one thing that I think maybe I interviewed a lot of document management services folks last year to prepare for another conference, and the DMS folks' primary goal is to secure, protect, and organize your information. And implementing AI resources can undermine those primary goals. And so I don't. I think if you're waiting on the DMS services to be the savior for your information, I think you're going to be waiting a while, just because that's not where their incentives are. Their incentives are to make sure that they're your trusted place to host your information, not necessarily the place to experiment with your information. So those are my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Greg. Jonathan and Bala.
On knowledge management, perhaps we've heard Greg talk about the law firm side. On the in-house side, and I recall vividly, some of the frustration I had when I was in-house is as an in-house, you receive, and the bigger the worse, you receive, memos, legal memos from multiple law firms all the time. How do you capture that information? And I believe many in-house team have tried to do so unsuccessfully. I think with AI, there's finally a tool there that allows you to capture all this, to avoid asking 3, 4, 5, 6 times the same questions to different lawyers, or even worse, to the same lawyers. That AI will play a huge role there. The other use case I see related to knowledge management in corporates is risk appetite. One of the most used question I've heard when I was in-house was always, Jonathan, have we already done it? Or how did we do it in other cases? And it's not easy for in-house team to find precedents, to build repositories of information, databases. Most of those experiments have failed. And I do believe with AI, pretty much there's no doubt that this can be done now super fast and very effectively. Again, trash in, trash out. But if you build good data, there's no reason to believe that in-house counsel can't achieve this, and that's a huge productivity gain for in-house teams. You could even imagine going one step further and outsourcing this probably to the business, empowering the business to do this. They all have the tools. They can ask. You don't even need a bot anymore. This can be done and free up even more time for in-house teams to focus on other stuff.
Thank you. Bala, do you have any final thoughts on this?
So one other dimension I would say with regard to KM is the L&D side of things, the learning and development side, which I personally feel is an area which AI can actually be leveraged a lot. So a recent study that we conducted, we found that any resource to join a firm and become fully productive, it's taking them in a pure manual intensive model, it takes them around 2 to 3 months. Through AI and to kind of, creating a learning and development model, you can actually get your talent up and ready to face the client in less than 3 weeks. So there's a lot of potential. The knowledge management aspect is one, but if you can combine it with the learning and development side of things, there's a huge potential of onboarding talent. In a market like India, the talent is always a revolving talent, but the challenge they face is every firm they go into has got a different process, they have a different way of dealing with their clients, they have different positions they take. So it becomes challenging. So it's not just that you're a superstar in one firm and you go to the other firm and you may just be struggling. So we do see AI, can you be used today from a confidence perspective. Clients do have their element, but it can be used a lot for internal efficiencies, internal, talent building, so that your talent can hit above their weight. I think that's an interesting use case that we see from a AI perspective in this market where confidence has to be built, trust has to be built. So using it for an L&D is the other way that AI can be leveraged.
Absolutely. No, I work kind of across, provision of legal services, but also like from a project management perspective, providing staffing, right, and looking at our billing data. AI has become increasingly helpful in that realm as well, for me personally. And I want to thank you for this amazing conversation and so many useful insights. And as we close up, I just wanted to get a few words in terms of how you think AI will reshape the lawyer-client relationship. And if each of our panelists can just say a few words that come to mind. And I'll start with you, Greg.
All right. I think I'll go back to a more educated client. I think is one of the things that it's going to enable. Again, I think if I think a lot of lawyers may shiver at that, but I think it's actually a really good thing and needs to be encouraged, because if you have a more educated client and you are worth your salt, you should have a better relationship with that client, because you are able then to have a better conversation with them, and having the better conversation builds a better relationship.
So, Jonathan?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but I think AI will put people back in the center, but more than ever, for all the reasons we've mentioned on this call. You can talk productivity, efficiency, but I think the human element is even more powerful. But I'll finish with one other comment. A side comment is AI is good, but I do believe the in-house community needs to embrace standardization, I think, in the legal industry. With AI, you reinvent the wheel each time, each second. There are many things that can be standardized, docs, processes, etc., in the legal industry, and that's a bigger construction site, but well worth it. And we shouldn't just think that AI will solve everything.
Absolutely. Bala?
I echo both Greg's and Johnson's point of view. I think AI is going to bring the lawyer and the client a lot more closer to each other. Uh, uh, the lawyer is going to start thinking a lot more on what is essential and value for my client, and how can I provide that, and how I can take out the inefficiencies from that relationship. So that means you're going to get closer to your client. You're becoming a more trusted partner. So AI is just going to, my personal point of view is AI is just going to make this relationship stronger, and it's going to benefit not just the legal fraternity, but the technology side of things as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a fantastic conversation. I want to thank all three of our speakers for joining us today. And just a quick note, we do have a question from our audience, and it's something about training attorneys. So the question comes from Julie, and Julie is asking, so if AI can be used to replace associates and clients are purchasing an attorney's experience, knowledge, and expertise, how do today's law school grads get the knowledge and expertise?
Yeah, I jotted down a quick answer to Julie in the chat, and I think and I've seen a few things. And Damian, do you want to tell everyone about the evaluation, and I can.
Yeah, sure. And as you may see on your screen, an evaluation window just popped up. We would appreciate if you could take just a few moments to fill this out as we wrap up the roundtable. Thank you. And thank you, Greg.
I'm your Uber driver, 5 stars only, please. So I think I've seen a number of tools out there that, and one of the really interesting one is this M&A emulator that Stanford and Flatiron Legal have worked on together to create a training model to teach junior, and senior associates, and even partners on a M&A scenario, hypothetical. So I think that there's a lot of hype about the associates are going away. And again, like I said earlier, I think there may be a trap to that partners may think that they don't need associates, but I think that is exactly that. It's a trap. So when it comes to the associates, I think associates need to be the ones that are curious about how AI will work within their own workflow, and I think they need to use it more as an assistant with them, rather than a replacement for them, so that you can get that feedback with an AI tool that you may or may not get from the partner. And just like it better educates the client to have the right language to talk to the partner with, I think it does so also for the associate. I think that it can be used as a guide, as a helper, as assistant, to help get associates up to speed faster on particular legal issues that they may not have handled before.
Just kind of enhancing this training component as you join a law firm.
Yeah, well, and let's be honest. If associates didn't, if you don't require them to attend training, they don't. And so I think if you can get them to be curious about the tools, give them the right tools, the right mindset on how to use the tools to educate themselves, to enhance their own work, to ask better questions. I think then that is something that can be very valuable and can get the associates where they need to be with this type of technology and innovation.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. And thank you for, I want to thank our audience for joining and completing the poll. And again, thank you to our fantastic speakers for this very insightful conversation. And with that, I think we're ready to wrap up.